let's move on to the third team that we want to talk about right now, and that is the champions, Gujarat Titans, because they had so many man of the match winners in their season. It was hard to really pick who really stood out for them, even though it was literally a team game for them. What will they be looking at? Because as it stands, we'll just put up the little graphic of Gujarat right now so you guys get an understanding of how much they have in terms of purse and all of that. And it tells you essentially this, right? They have about close to 20 crores, so they will be competing with the big dogs. They need to, of course, target 3 more overseas slots. Obviously, debatable whether they'll be starters or whether they'll be backup players. Talk to me, guys. We'll start with Som here this time around. Som?
Yep, again, it's Dan's team, Avanish.
No, it's fine. I'm going to come to Dan, but I want you to say something first because then otherwise...
Sure, I mean... Yeah, I mean, right before the IPL, everyone, I mean, I think hardly anyone thought that GT will emerge as champions, but they ended up using a lot of luck and, finding a lot of match winners. And plus, no one expected Miller to just enhance his game against spin to that level. So, one must just hope that they did not use all of their luck in the last season because they will need some of it again. In terms of personnel, I feel GT is one team who will benefit if they end up getting Mayank because he can slot in with Gill as the opener. And other player that they might have on the radar is Nicholas Pooran, who can actually play instead of Wade in the middle order and be the keeper as well. So, I mean, those are the two players that I feel they will have an eye on. The third player is, again, their overseas pacer is Alzari Joseph. So the 11 that I have for them as of now is Gill, Saha, Miller, Hardik, Wade, and then Manohar, Tewatia, Rashid, Shami, Sai Kishore, and Joseph. So they would need a replacement for Joseph as well. So I feel Saha goes out, Mayank comes in, Wade goes out, Pooran comes in, and just a backup for Alzari Joseph.
Yeah, because Alzari was pretty much the backup for Loki, right, last time around. Dan, do you agree with Som in the sense that they won't be really head-scratching this time around, but they still need 1 or 2 players to just make sure that they strengthen, right?
Okay, so I there's certainly some areas that some said that I massively agree in, like the luck element, for example. I mean, yeah, they certainly use up plenty of their luck as a franchise in year 1. I mean, I'm still having nightmares about those 2 6s from Tewatia. And that was just one example. There was like, I think 4, 5, 6 matches that they won with really, really fine margins, really high variance matches that they end up on the right side of. And I've said this before, and I'll reiterate it again here, is I do think that if the league was a 40-match season, or 38 match like the English Premier League in football, I don't think that Gujarat Titans would have come in the top 4. I strongly maintain that. The thing that they did well last year was that they had the best batting stability by far of all teams, 23 balls per dismissal. So then that allowed them to kind of save themselves a little bit for the last few overs. And they had strong boundary prevention with the ball. With Rashid Khan in the team, that's always a massive positive to start with. The question is, will Hardik Pandya be able to bowl to such a high standard this time around? Will Shami have another decent year? Will they see the light and pick Sai Kishore, who I really rate quite highly? And I still think there's a lot of question marks about who they might pick in their starting 11. So I agree with the vast majority of what Som said about the starting 11. But there's still a few spots up for grabs. I mean, I don't think the Riddiman Saha should be anywhere near an IPL team at this stage of his career. And I think that they're lacking maybe like a... If you have an Agarwal, as you say, as an opener, then that allows you to play a Wade or a Paran at 3, which does help you a little bit in terms of that keeping conundrum and having a bit more firepower in the middle order. You could also back Wade at like a 6 as well. That would be fine with Tawati at 7 and Rashid Khan at 8. And I do think they also need some pace bowling reinforcements as well. And I mean, it's interesting looking at their trades. Okay, so they only released 2 domestic players who are Gurpreet Singh Mann and Varun Aaron. Fairly standard, I think. But we look at their overseas outs. I mean, let's focus, I think, primarily on the trade to KKR of Lockie Ferguson and Ramanella Gabaz. Ferguson, I get it a little bit in terms of freeing up that 10 CR and kind of crushing KKR's purse to a large extent. Although I don't think that Ferguson would have gone for that much less in an auction. Maybe he would go for less, but not that much less. And don't forget that as well, this is a mini auction where there's not that many premium players out there. So will I see Ferguson going for, let's say, 7 or less in a mini auction? Probably not. So I don't. It's an okay deal, the trade. The one I hated was Gurbaz, because like 50 lakh for a player who's got obscene potential. He really could be a superstar, and he keeps wicket, and he's getting more and more international experience. He's getting more experience around the world. The upside is massive, and I just don't understand why you would let a player like that go to one of your rivals for base price. It just makes no sense to me, because how do you benefit from that as a franchise? How do you benefit from that trade? You don't, because you're losing a player with high potential, and you're not taking money away from an opposition's purse because he's going for base price. So if he'd have gone in an auction, maybe he would have gone for like 2 CR, 2.5, something like that, and so you're taking money out of the opposition purse, and this is where I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't see GT's think tank perhaps thinking about those kind of decisions in depth as much as perhaps they could. And again, that goes back a little bit to what Somesh said about this luck element from year one. Look, I after the auction, I thought they were one of the weaker teams. I still actually quite stand by that, but they do have 2 or 3 match winners, which really did help them in year one. But it's a lot to ask of a Rashid Khan to win you matches game in, game out. It's a lot for you to ask of Rahul Tewatia, who I think everyone thought was really overpriced in the auction, to go and do what he did in 2022, when there's not that much of a track record of him doing that in the past. Yes, maybe 1 or 2 isolated examples, but not on a consistent basis. It's a lot to ask of Hardik Pandya to hold up that middle order completely by himself if Miller doesn't play well. And you know what? Miller has a below average boundary percentage, and he still, for me, is not a premium player. He really struggled actually in the 100 for Welsh Fire. And I look at their squad and I think if you can keep Hardik quiet, you can keep Rashid Khan quiet, you've got a very, very good chance of winning that match.
I mean, I think Lockie Ferguson and his absence after that KKR trade, I think that's something they'll be, like you said, the pace or department reinforcements. Shubh, just to wind up on Gujarat here, you've given us some bold predictions already in this preview. Any bold calls from a Gujarat lens? Do you think maybe a Jai Richardson or Sean Abbott, someone of that kind of ilk, or do you see otherwise?
I think Gujarat have a batting spot available. If you see their what the 11 I framed for them, I have 3 overseas players locked in: Miller, Alzari Joseph, and Rashid Khan. And I think that number 3 slot is quite available right now. You cannot trust Matthew Wade at that number. You can't trust Sai. So Darshan as well, because he's fairly new. So I think that number 3 spot they can just hand. Either they get Mayank, and if they are not able to get him, they can basically slot in anyone. They can have Nicholas Puran. They can have a Shakib Al Hasan at number 3 as well, because I think he's still a decent enough batter, and if Sakib gets into the side, the 11 has a left arm orthodox spin option as well, and you don't have to shoehorn Sai Kishore in because he does not have the same batting value as that of Shakib. And it's not only Shakib, Ben Stokes, basic Harry Brook as well. So basically, any overseas guy or even an Indian player, if they can slot in for number 3, I think that is the only one player that they need right now, alongside some backups for Alzari Joseph. And I totally agree with Dan on every word he said about Gujarat, because you can't trust Rahul Tivatia to have back-to-back blockbuster seasons as well. So maybe something, maybe a finisher as well. But right now, I think they just need a number 3, a reliable number 3 batter, and that could be anyone because they have a lot of options available in the auction.
I mean, I like the shot that Som actually threw up early on with Nicholas Puran. So just watch this space. It could be that you heard it here on cricket.com first.